Werner. I have a question. I don't know if I can
Just
explain.
come out with it.
Okay. So the problem is our mind and how it works, no?
Yeah,
All the stuff we have, all. But I have the feeling that there is some point that I have the feeling that it's like a kind of separation between me and the mind, no? It's not me, it's the mind. But I have the feeling that there is some point that I have to unify both.
Mm.
I mean, if I'm always, this is not me, I mean, it's the mind,
Mm.
I have the feeling that it's
Then,
always the fight.
then you have always that stranger there, huh?
Yeah. But I had the feeling that at some point I should to unify
Make
both.
peace with your mind, huh?
Maybe. No? So, but I mean, how? I don't know if
Yeah, I get it. I get it. There's not really such a thing like a mind. We just have that capacity to form consciousness into reasonable thoughts. And actually, that capacity is something beautiful. It's not that we have to somehow wipe this out and hate it and think, oh, it's disturbing. It's it's a way the self is expressing itself. But it's a tool that should be used where it's appropriate and then laid aside where it's not appropriate. And somehow something has gone wrong somewhere. Instead of using that capacity like a tool, we gotten so addicted to think all the time. And then it becomes a compulsion. It's just a habit that is so strong. Instead of being a tool, then it's like now it's on top, it's the boss and directing the whole show. And there it goes helplessly from the moment one wakes up till we go to sleep. It just goes on ramba, 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 ramba. And it appears to be so powerful because we have the tendency to think always over and over and over the same kind of stuff. It's then just habits that become stronger and stronger. And habits have their own power, have their own momentum. If we habitually do something again and again, then the pull to repeat it is very strong. And if we think and think and think and think and define ourselves and define our world and me and the poor little me and how can this happen and all the stories that we are telling ourselves about ourselves and the world, and we think about it all the time, it's such a habit that it seems to be so powerful, it seems to be so real. And then we talk about the mind as if there was such a thing like a mind. There's no such thing like a mind. So it's not that eventually now it's an enemy and eventually, finally, you can sign a peace treaty with it. It's if we become aware what we are doing, then this gradually is calming down, and then suddenly there is no more enemy there. It's not that you have to somehow come to terms with your enemy and then that you tolerate that mind, that it's not more seen as an enemy, then it's becoming that beautiful capacity of forming consciousness into reasonable thoughts. There's nothing wrong with it. It's beautiful. It's a self that wants to express itself in ever new and new, beautiful, creative ways. You can totally laugh at. Simply learn to see that the habit has become such a strong force that we have the tendency to unconsciously, mindlessly being sucked into it all the time. And we have to learn to step out of that. It's not that we have to fight our mind. And finally, you come out victorious. It's more to remember all the time. Just stop getting so interested in all that rubbish. it's it's not so easy to do because we don't have simply our own subconscious to deal with. We are connected, you are connected to everything. We are connected with everything, but then as we are appearing in human form, the connection on the mental level with the whole rest of humanity is tremendous. And the whole of the human mental sphere, it's something formidable. And it's like that. And it has the tendency to pull us into that way of functioning all the time. But we don't have to. If we stop getting interested in all that stuff that we are thinking all the time, no matter whether these thoughts come out of our own subconscious or whether they come from wherever, I mean, we are in all that stuff and at the same time producing thoughts, but at the same time also like antennas that picking up stuff. But it becomes so overwhelming and often destructive because then we buy into that story, identify with it, and are not even aware, most of the time, not aware what's really going on in the mind. If you pick up somebody on the road and now tell me exactly what is happening in your mind, what's going through your head for 5 minutes, it's sheer madness. we are we are supposed to be the rational species in this world, but I mean that capacity of forming consciousness into reasonable thoughts can, if we really use it properly, just put one reasonable thought after another, and there's no problem about it. But what is going on in the human mind is so contradictory. It's madness. It's going a moment there. We think a little something, and something else comes up, and oh, it's not possible to control that. So don't try to control too much the mind. Just see what's going on. Learn not to get interested so much in all that stuff. And for that, it helps that we have some kind of tool to redirect the attention. Something we can put the attention onto. Center. Center physically and relax. Or ask Ramana's question, who is thinking all that? Not trying to figure out who this is, but really simply use it's one way of catching the attention, help to get detached from the mental obsessions, from all we are looking to, and bring it to that sense of being. There's no answer to the question, who am I? You are the answer. That sense of being conscious, alive, present is the answer. Or just when you become aware how much the attention is going into that, just redirect to that simple fact that is happening the whole day long. You just consciously breathe in, breathe out, and relax. And you're right there. Yes?
You say the same thing about the sense of self itself, because we tend to make it into the enemy in the
Yeah.
spiritual world, but it's also a function of consciousness.
Yes.
And it seems to be a way to help the body mind to navigate the world.
Right.
The problem is not that we have that sense of self, the problem is that we exclusively identify with it.
Right.
And if we make it into an enemy, then we're always at war with ourselves.
Yes. Yes, you are perfectly right. That we have that self-image, and as long as we are totally identifying with it, then that sense of I in that self-image seems to be the me.
Yeah.
And as long as we are locked into that me, I, me, mine, then we are always at war with the whole rest of the universe, trying to squeeze out our little advantage in every situation. But that sense of I in that self image is just a reflection. It's not really wrong, but it's a reflection of that sense of being, of what Ramana says, the I, your real I, not the me separate from the whole rest, but the I. And this sense of I in the reflection is nothing wrong if it's being seen as that. Some, a little bit of that is necessary to survive, to feed your body. There's nothing wrong making your physical situation comfortable if you can, if you are not obsessed with it, if you are not making our well-being dependent on it, of it. So right, you can say, like with the mind, yes, it's not an enemy. I mean, the mind and that they are totally related. You cannot really separate the two, that sense of I as a person and the mind.